I'm Catherine Bauman, the director of the University of Chicago Language Center. The Language Center supports everyone on the University of Chicago campus teaching and learning languages. And I'm talking to you today about studying languages. Why study languages? Might be a good place to start to think about why University of Chicago students study language and what they're doing with the language knowledge and language skills that they have. Chicago students are starting new languages. Many students come to us already having studied a language, speaking a language fluently as their native language, speaking a language as a heritage language learner, come to us with all kinds of language ability. Many students decide to start a new language for some reason related to their discipline, something they're interested in, something they're looking forward to doing in the future. And of course, many of our students are continuing to study a language they already know. We believe that every student on this campus has the opportunity to reach professional language proficiency. Whether you're starting a new language or continuing to study a language you already know, you have the opportunity to become proficient enough in that language to work as a professional, work in academia. And really that's our goal for all of you. University of Chicago students go abroad to study languages, do this in a lot of different ways. Undergraduates can get foreign language acquisition grants. They can also get grants to do research on their BA topics during the summer. They can participate in international civilization programs, complete their civilization requirement and study a language. We have master's students on the two-year language option who have the opportunity to go abroad and do summer study in between the 2 years of their master's programs. Students are taking intensive courses on our campuses and intensive courses abroad. So students are going abroad to do lots of different things with language, to study language, to take civilization courses, and to increase their language proficiency for languages they're going to be working on when they return. Chicago students also learn to read primary and secondary texts and other sources to deepen and broaden their knowledge of all disciplines. We see students getting high levels of reading proficiency in order to work with secondary sources primarily across just about every single discipline on this campus. We offer specific reading and research courses to develop those kinds of skills. University of Chicago students are participating in internships abroad or internships in the United States where they can use their language proficiency. They're also going to international conferences or symposia and presenting at those meetings using the language. And of course, all of this work makes it possible for students to connect with scholars in their discipline. I don't think there's anyone on this campus that doesn't think that their discipline has an international cohort of scholars. Being able to communicate with those individuals in different languages is a terrific skill and a way to really create a global cohort of scholars. University of Chicago students are also applying for fellowships and scholarships after their studies, both after their undergraduate studies, Fulbrights and Borens, and during their graduate studies. There are many different associations that offer fellowships or support to undertake international work. And of course, our students, all of our students, are taking their language proficiency out into the real world when they apply for graduate schools or professional schools, or when they apply for jobs and other opportunities. We find that our students and their language proficiency have an edge and have a real advantage when they're applying for these things. And I'll talk a little bit about more of those in a little bit. And of course, all students who study another language have access and understanding of other cultures, other worlds, and other people. That's maybe a primary motivation for all of us who studied other languages. This is a list of languages that were taught at the University of Chicago in one academic year. This list gets updated every year. This can give you an idea of the scope of languages that are offered, but also of the commitment of the University of Chicago to the study of language, both the scholarly study of languages and also to the gaining of proficiency in those languages to use in all of the things University of Chicago students are doing in all across the entire campus. Maybe you're interested in starting a new language. Students ask us this frequently. Should I start a new language? Does it make sense to start a new language? When should I start a new language? You can imagine that at the University of Chicago Language Center, we think it's a great idea to start studying a new language. But if you're going to do that, we do want to encourage you to start as early as you can. We know that undergraduates have a lot of decisions facing them as they start their studies here, and that graduate students also have to construct their studies carefully in order to check all the boxes and gain all the skills they need to finish their programs. But if you're going to need another language in whatever area it might be, the earlier you start, the higher level of proficiency you can reach. Should also think about integrating study abroad in your language study in order to accelerate your proficiency gains. In the right program, and depending on the language, an intensive summer can help you jump over 1 or 2 or even 3 quarters of language to really make your language proficiency gains more quicker. Language courses are labor intensive. They demand daily or every other day preparation, homework. You can't leave your language study for the weekend and try to catch up. But language courses aren't that difficult. If you put in the time every day, put in the work, attend class, you can do very well on a language course, especially if you already know another language. But you do have to plan to make the time commitment. As I mentioned already, the earlier you start, the more likely you can gain higher levels of proficiency, but it's also more likely you'll end up using the language in your main discipline or in your major, whether you're reading scholarly texts or looking at archival materials or archival literature, or whether you're studying abroad in a summer or using the language to conduct interviews or other research. The earlier you start with a language, the more likely you'll be able to use it. Very often we encounter students who start learning a language later and really wish they had started earlier. So if you're going to start a new language, start early. Support for language study very often demands a level of proficiency. It might be 1 year of language study, it might be 2 years of language study. So getting that language study under your belt is a really good idea if you think you're going to be applying for language study. And furthermore, if you're going to go abroad, if you have basic language knowledge or basic proficiency in a language, say 1 year proficiency, you can make a quicker advance when you go abroad and study the language there. Language courses are also a great way to get to know other people and faculty. There's so much interaction. The focus of most of our language courses is interacting with other students and interacting with the instructor using the language. So our students tell us that they really enjoy their language courses. It helps them get in touch with other people, make new friends, and get to know faculty. And for all of the students who are heritage learners, those are learners that spoke another language in the home or learned another language in the home who perhaps didn't have formal schooling in that language, but have proficiency in the language. Especially those students can really fast track their language proficiency. And if you, when you go and if you meet with language colleagues, many of our languages have special language sequences for heritage learners. And who knows, you might decide you need yet another language. All right, let's take a look at some of the ways to use language in the real world. And by that I mean after you graduate, whether you're an undergraduate or a graduate student. And the American Council on the Teaching of Foreign Languages, or ACTFL, did some research for a program called Lead with Languages. And they found that many employers are reporting a language skills gap. 1 in 3 employers in the United States report that they cannot find enough people to work with them who have foreign language skills. 1 in 4 of them report that they lost business because they didn't have someone who could use or speak the language in a professional setting. 9 out of 10 employers rely on employees with language skills other than English. So sometimes those language skills may not even be required for a job, but if you have those skills, you may find that you can provide services, provide expertise in a job setting that they didn't even know they really needed. And over half of all employers report that they expect their foreign language demand will increase in the next 5 years. These are the top 5 kinds of jobs that report needing the greatest foreign language skills. See those on the screen: customer service and sales, marketing, also management, and IT. So you can see how broad this range of jobs is. And keep in mind, this doesn't even include jobs in academia where languages are used all the time, and not just in language departments. Here's a list of languages with the anticipated demand for people with foreign language proficiency, both domestically, meaning the jobs they're hiring for here in the United States, and for jobs abroad. Happy to say we offer all the languages at Chicago in that list. And many of you may be heritage speakers of those languages. The Critical Language Scholarship Program is a State Department program targeting the language proficiency development in specifically these languages. Many of those are also languages taught here at the University of Chicago. So many federal departments and agencies are specifically looking for individuals with proficiency in these languages. But I would note that there's not, as is noted here, there's no single unified list of language considered critical. When it comes to the State Department, just about every language is a critical language. Another area where you may find the opportunity to work as a professional is in the State Department. These jobs are limited to United States citizens, but these 3 give you an idea of the range of work you might be able to do with foreign languages. And as you can imagine, the State Department has foreign service opportunities, consulates, embassies all over the world. So whether you have 1 or 2 or 3 other languages, you're increasing your opportunities for work, especially in the State Department. I'd also note that jobs in the State Department demand security clearance. And if you end up applying for a job, for that matter, an internship while you're still a student in the State Department, and you gain security clearance, that's another skill and another attribute you can take out into the world as a professional, no matter where you end up working. I just want to share with you the table of proficiency levels that the State Department uses when they're assigning different individuals to different jobs or deciding whether an individual is eligible for a job based on their language proficiency. The Office of Language Assessment in the Language Center uses these same proficiency levels for its foreign language proficiency certifications. Foreign language certifications, proficiency certifications, are tests that are given across a wide range of languages at UChicago and award certificates, documents you can take out in the world that describe your real world language proficiency. That's what language proficiency means. Not what you know about the language, but what you can do with the language in the real world. So as you're studying a language here at Chicago, I encourage you to check out the language assessment site for their foreign language proficiency certifications and find out which tests are being offered in order to gain those certifications. It's another document, another credential for you to take out in the world to show them what you can do with language.